Let's go make this American flag rag quilt. But first, always remember to share this so it will save to your profile and you can find it when you're looking for it again later. I know y'all were worried, but I found it. My American flag rag quilt that I started when I was on my retreat in Missouri. Now this is from the Grand Old Flag pattern by Missouri Star Quilt Company, only I sewed all the blocks the wrong way. So I'm gonna show you how I did it. I'm not telling you it's a good idea, I'm just showing you the way that I did it. I got a layer cake, a red, white, and blue one, and this tumbler template. This is a 10-inch tumbler template. I also got the 5-inch tumbler template, but it was going to make my rag quilt really small, more like a wall hanging than a rag quilt. So I went back and got the 10-inch, and this is made for 10-inch squares. So I laid it on top and I cut them out. Do you see how little waste there is? There's just not a lot of waste, and we like that a lot. I cut all of my squares out and I sewed a whole bunch of it when I was there, but I saved part of it to sew with you. So the pattern told me this is 8 squares, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 squares. Now you're supposed to sew the squares like this. I sewed mine like this because I want to rag it like this. The flag was going to look weird if I ragged it that way. So I sewed each row of white and each row of red together. And then I put a piece of fabric, this is the back of my rag quilt, face down. 2 layers of flannel. Now I got my flannel when I was up there and they didn't have a bunch of solid white. So I just got something that had a light print because if I was at home, I'd just be using my scraps anyway. I do not mind doing that at all. So if you're trying to use up your scrap bin, it's a great plan. And then, so my back piece of fabric is face down, 2 layers of flannel, and then I have my white row face up and I pinned it. So now I'm going to go and sew all the way around the outside of this. And then we're gonna trim it off and sew it to our quilt. I'm gonna sew this with a straight stitch and a 1/4 inch seam back stitching when I start and when I stop because my grandma said so.
You can quilt this any way you want, but you do want to attach the cotton to the cotton with the flannel in between so that it doesn't get all balloony when you're finished. Now I'm just sewing around the outsides and then sewing down each seam where I sewed my blocks together. But you could sew an X across each block or any kind of design that you like. So many questions about rag quilts. This is cotton quilt fabric, 2 layers of flannel and cotton quilt fabric, but you could do all flannel. Just make sure when you're making a rag quilt that you have some flannel, either flannel on the inside or all flannel, because the flannel is what makes it fray so pretty.
Now we're just gonna trim it off close to the fabric all the way around, just like this.
You can make any design a rag quilt, like literally any design. Let's say you wanted to make pinwheels. A sweet lady at the retreat made pinwheels for her rag quilt and she ragged all the sides of the pinwheel. But you could make a pinwheel and after it's square, sew it to flannel and a back piece and then just rag the squares on the outside. Any design possible, you can make a rag quilt. And rag quilts are so easy and so beginner friendly. The worst part is the ragging to me, but some people don't even mind that. And the best part is that when you're done, you're finished. It's finished. There's no then sending it to a long arm or quilting it yourself.
Okay, so we've sewn all of our rows together. These are actually the last 2. I had already sewn this one and then I said, Tammy, stop, because we want to do all of this together when I get home. So now I'm going to take these 2 rows, the red row and the white row, and I'm going to lay them pretty side to pretty side. Do you see this? It's not a straight seam. That's what I was telling you. I did this on purpose. But if you sewed your pieces together like this, all the way up the flag, you would have a solid straight seam to sew right here. But because I want to rag these right here, I couldn't do that. So what I'm gonna do is lay them pretty side. I'm gonna lay them back side to back side because it's a rag quilt. Why do y'all keep letting me forget this? And I'm gonna sew it like this. And then when I get right here, I'm going to sew it like this. So this is not quite as easy. It's not hard, I promise, but it's not quite as easy as if you had sewn them together the way the pattern says, but then it would rag weird. We don't want to do that. So I'm gonna sew this with a straight seam, and I'm gonna sew this about 5/8 or 1/2 inch or 3 inches. It doesn't matter how big I make it. I promise I'm still gonna clip my seams whenever I'm clipping it to rag it. I can't help myself. but I'm gonna try not to.
When you're sewing this shape, all you're doing is sewing straight down, and when you get to each seam, raising your presser foot, adjusting, sewing to the next seam, raising your presser foot, adjusting, and sewing to the next seam. And if you adjust at each seam, when you open it up, it lays nice and flat.
And here we go. Now it's time to put it on our quilt. I know, y'all are dying to see the whole thing, aren't you? Me too. Okay, so here's our quilt. And here is our bottom 2 rows. We need to sew this row to this row, and then it'll be time for us to rag it. So we're gonna sew it the same way, 5/8 inch, and I'm gonna sew until I get to here. I'm gonna raise my presser foot, and then I'm gonna line these 2 up, and sew until I get to here, and raise my presser foot up and line these 2 up, and go all the way down, just like we did a second ago.
This is the Grand Old Flag pattern by Missouri Star Quilt Company, and it's 7 blocks down and 8 blocks across. It turns out a really good size, such a good size that I decided to make another quilt out of it. I couldn't quite get enough of this pattern or the Americana, but it's the 250th birthday of the United States of America, so why not make all the red, white, and blue?
Okay, let's see. Isn't it adorable? Now we have to clip it. Missouri Star Quilt Company just released their own pair of rag snips. That's what these are. I snipped this when I was in Missouri, and y'all, one of my students had this. Y'all know I'm the nail brush queen, and she had this like boar's hair hairbrush, and it's way easier to use and super good. Maybe even better. Another one of my students told me that if you do a row and snip a row and do a row and snip a row, it's really not that bad. And I kind of thought that was genius, because the snipping is the absolute worst part. But these snips are fantastic, so I'm gonna snip mine and you snip yours. And let's see what it looks like when we're finished. Okay, so I just clipped right here. They say to clip 1/8 of an inch, but I don't know who's got that kind of patience. There was a sweet girl at the retreat, and I said, your clipping is gorgeous. And she said, thank you. And I said, it's so close together. She said, it makes it fray pretty. I said, well, I know that, but I'm impressed. Y'all see this? It's even prettier when you wash it, obviously. And what I'm doing is 100% against the rules. They say don't do this because it, I don't know, messes with the integrity of your stitches or something, but mine always has a hole in it when I'm done anyway. And I don't have the patience. I want to see it right now. Okay, this is what I just ragged. I'm gonna go rag the rest of mine, and you go rag yours. I can't wait to see the ones you make. My name is Tammy. I'm your favorite sewing teacher, and I would love for you to come sew with me.